Hey everyone, this is Nick from IgniteU. Thanks so much for tuning in to our panel on workforce development. We have three wonderful speakers here, and they're going to be talking about workforce development in the Capital Region and New York State. I'd like to start off by introducing our panelists. JeanMarie, would you like to start off?
Sure. My name's JeanMarie Reinke, and I'm the Regional Director for the Workforce Development Institute. We're a statewide not-for-profit organization, and we work to increase opportunities for all New Yorkers to succeed in the workforce by helping them gain family-sustaining wages. My background is in HR, mental health counselor, and I was a professor with a small SUNY community college for 20 years. So this is, I guess, a third career.
Thank you for that. Brian?
And I'm Brian Williams. I'm the Executive Director of the Capital Region Workforce Development Board. We act as the central hub for workforce development initiatives, kind of chartered by Congress, actually, under the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act, to break down the silos between organizations, help businesses find a skilled workforce in what they need. I've been in this business for a long time, 25 plus years. I'm one of those workforce nerds, so if you follow me on Twitter or social media, you get really annoyed talking about workforce, but it's a passion of mine because I truly believe that workforce development is economic development and businesses should be driving our system.
Absolutely. I'm Christine Mclear. I'm the Director of Workforce Development at the Center for Economic Growth. We are affiliated with the Capital Region Chamber and really look at driving economic growth to the region, and workforce, as Brian said, is a really critical component of that. And I've only been in the field since 2019, so I think maybe I'm the newest, but it's a really great place to be, and I'm excited to be here today.
That's great. Great to have you three, and it sounds like there's a lot of experience here, and I'm looking forward to the conversation. Let's start off by sort of defining what is workforce development. We hear a lot about workforce development in the news, initiatives, statewide initiatives, bills. How do you define workforce development? What does it mean?
So Nick, I think again, I've been doing this for a while, and now workforce has got its name. It's got its name in lights now because of the necessity from the business community of the human capital on everything. As we're talking about skill sets, as we're talking about the economic prosperity of a region, if you don't have a skilled workforce, if you don't have that human capital that the businesses are desiring, then we're not going to be able to grow. Businesses aren't not going to be able to be attracted to the region. And honestly, you're not going to have a very thriving region. And here in the Capital Region, I think we do a good job of marrying together all of our partners around this. And that's where I think if you look at the state and the federal level, why workforce is so important is because of the investment that needs to be made in our folks. Yeah,
it's giving the opportunities for employers to increase the education and training of their workforce in many different ways. Giving skill enhancements for their existing employees too. So there can be a career advancement path eventually, when someone can start here, entry-level job, and then there's, a plan for them to get better jobs and better wages. Workforce and diversity and inclusion in business is very important too. We want everybody to feel like it's a safe workspace, and so that's something that we look at very seriously in the workforce development arena these days as well. And it's a continuous process. It's not something that's like a one and done, like, okay, we did that, now that workforce development issue is complete for that organization. It's always going to be ongoing because trends are going to be changing. The types of individuals that need help with employment are going to be, defined differently. And we're going to work with different organizations throughout our careers and, between each other.
I think one thing to add to that is I think oftentimes people think of workforce development as training, and that is a critical part of it. But it's much more than that. It's also, like JeanMarie is talking about, with diversity, equity, and inclusion. It's skilling up, it's wraparound supports. It's not just going somewhere to get training and building skill, but really creating an environment where everybody who wants to work can work, and where our businesses have the skilled labor that they need. And so that's what we do every day.
So it leads me to my next question. You said workforce development is very important these days. So why is workforce development so important right now to our economy or New York State?
Well, it's interesting. It's important from a necessity standpoint, and I'm just going to talk demographics, right? Our country's in a demographic drought, and we knew it was coming. Right? They called it the silver tsunami for a reason. Baby boomers didn't have as many kids. We knew this was happening in that respect. And I think workforce has always had a space in what we were doing, but as Christine said, it was a lot of focus on training and making sure classroom training was enhanced and individuals got, the actual specific hard skills training, this necessity for businesses. But now I think we're seeing, from a business culture standpoint, it's one thing to have the skill set, but it's another thing to be that inclusive piece and to talk about where those skills can come from. We use the term transferable skills a lot, especially with businesses. If we're talking about a skill set, say in the financial services industry, those exact same skill sets are going to translate into manufacturing in many cases. Christine talks about supportive services, like taking care of your workforce as the beating heart for a business. And it's not just come to work, punch the clock, do your job, go home. We're treating the whole person as part of that family of a business.
Additionally, I'd like to add that there's a lot of new sectors coming to the area that we didn't talk about before, such as like offshore wind. So we want to make sure that when the projects really, really get going, there's going to be a skilled workforce that is going to be able to fill these positions that we need. So it's also looking, forward in that way to be proactive in our methodology, for that. And, a lot of the skills that these types of jobs need, there's not the community, there wasn't until we've, started to create different programs through either the community colleges or other partners that we have. And we can talk more about apprenticeships and things like that, later. But there's just a lot of emerging new sectors that I think that, we have to address. Where are we going to get the people to fill these positions?
And I think part of that is really thinking about how much technology has changed our work environments in the recent past. And we can dig more into this as we talk more, but thinking about sort of base level computer literacy skills so people can go to work and feel comfortable using the tools that are there. At CEG, we are also the manufacturing extension partnership for the region. So we work with small and medium-sized manufacturers to help and support them, and we're talking with them about how to build out automation and cobots and working humans alongside robots so that we can really help fill this need. And that's a very different set of technical skills. So we are thinking a lot about that, and that's part of why the issue is so critical right now.
Are you guys aware of what manufacturing extension partnerships are?
No, I'd love to hear about it.
Yeah, maybe that would be something to expand upon because I didn't know about it until I started working more with manufacturers. Yeah. And CEG was the one when I was working at the community college and doing workforce development. So I think that could be something similar.
Yeah, so the Manufacturing Extension Partnership exists, like I said, to support small and medium-sized manufacturers, but there's at least one in every state. So we're the Manufacturing Extension Partnership National Network, so we can learn from each other. We see best practices and what other centers are doing. And in New York, we actually have several centers. Fuse Hub is one that exists statewide, and then the other centers work underneath and alongside of them to make sure that we're really looking at reshoring, increasing manufacturing capability in the US, helping those companies with whatever it may be, expansion projects, workforce development, and also building out the ecosystem around entrepreneurship. So all really key practices for the MVPs.
Sounds like really good stuff going on here. So I just want to sort of go down to the business owner. How does workforce development impact the business owner of a small business? I know we talked about offshore wind, maybe bigger companies that can benefit from the workforce development initiatives, but how can workforce development really work for the smaller businesses that are here in our New York State economy?
Well, we always look at, WDI looks at impact. So we always want to impact the most people that we can look at how many people are we helping to get jobs that are going to be family sustaining wage jobs, jobs with family sustaining benefits as well. That, it's not just like a job that is 32 hours a week with no benefits. So we always look at, the impact when we do a project with an employer, but that's not to say small businesses can't, benefit from that as well. But anybody that applies for a grant through WDI, which is we have flexible funding for some projects, what they could possibly put in for would be training, upskilling for their employees. So okay, our employees don't know XYZ, technology, and they need to know it to be able to work with this new, a company that needs some products from them. So we might provide the funding for the training. So we help the businesses upskill their employees so that they're ready and they're going to do a good job, and then it can help grow their, particular business. They can retain their talent by investing in their people. If someone feels like, hey, my company cares about me, they're more apt to want to stay because they feel valued. So I think that's really important too. They help, give them adaptable skills, like Brian was saying, transferable skills that can do that. And, the more you keep people, the more it's going to benefit the company because you don't have to keep, hiring new people. So if you can keep them, it's going to be cheaper for the organization as well. And, I think when you invest in your employees, it also fosters like a more collaborative and a culture that is like a better culture, that people are feeling like, I like working here, my boss cares about me, they're putting money, investing in me, they're helping me go back to school or whatever. And then there's job advancements, and also we look at wage progression too. We want to see that if people are getting skilled and we're helping to fund training, that they're going to benefit in a way in which that they are going to earn more money or have better advancement opportunities. So that's some ways.
JeanMarie brings up a great point from a small business standpoint, and we use the term workforce development, right? And it sounds like it's a new sexy term and all of that stuff like that. This process and this ecosystem has been around for years. We used to call it employment and training. We used to call it like labor relations. We used to, whatever that looked like. But for the small business owner who doesn't have a full human resource department or a training avenue within their corporation like the large industries do, this is where the public workforce system and the partners we all bring together can help, right? We will go out as a team, CEG, WDI, New York State Department of Labor, Empire State Development, our career centers, all go out as a team and meet with businesses and listen to see where are their pain points. What can we do to help them with? Are they retaining? Are you having a retention issue, or are you having an attraction issue? What's it look like for upskilling and career pathways within your organization for that retention of talent? And then we kind of all come together like a big HR department for them and provide that service of helping them navigate where can there be grants, like JeanMarie talks about, that are available? Where are there learn and earn type models through CEG? Where are there tax credits through the State Department of Labor? Where are there different recruitment avenues that they haven't really thought about in the past? Running a business and attracting talent today is a lot different than it was in 1995. And businesses that are open to thinking differently about attraction are the ones that are going to be successful, and we can help with that.
Could you share like one thing that you've worked on with the small business without getting too specific? Maybe one thing that your company does, to impact a small business? Yeah,
I have one that came to mind. Probably they'd be happy if I named it, but it's an organization that does cleaning and posts for commercial buildings. And post-COVID, it wasn't just like pre-COVID. It wasn't maybe going in, vacuuming and emptying trash, things like that. This business wanted some help with some different trainings, because post-COVID, there were a lot of different protocols that needed to be with chemicals and making sure things were done a much, much different way. And when the owner of the business came to us, he had a whole not succession plan, a plan that, you know, someone starts here, they get these certifications, which are like more like OSHA type related, chemical related, and he had the whole plan worked out. And with that came more, you know, increases in salaries. So that to me was like the perfect way to do it, that he could show us, I'm not just wanting like a one and done training. I really want to keep my people. I take pride in the work that we do. I want to grow my business, and he has, and people are staying with them because they know that if they come in, and he hires a lot of people that might have barriers to employment, such as formerly, and we can talk about this a little bit more, but maybe they were just as involved at some point. So maybe some of their options with getting back in the workforce were limited, but with his plan, their earning potential is not limited. They are not going to make $15 an hour for their whole life. You know, they know and they can see where they're going to be going. And I think a business like that is doing a great job, and we are very proud to partner and to help, you know, someone do that, because what they're really doing is for the family, then that goes out to the community, then the people stay in the community, and it's such a good ripple effect.
Yeah, well, and to build off that, so if I talk too much about it, I'm sorry, but I love registered apprenticeship. It's the program that I work the most on. Most of my days are spent talking and doing registered apprenticeship. So when you talk about it, it's registered with New York State, but CEG is a group sponsor for programs, and it's a lot of the same principles that JeanMarie is just talking about. So apprentices are hired full-time by the employer. They're put on a plan that involves training on the job, so every hour they work is counted towards their training requirement, and it's paired with related instruction or related technical instruction, which is coursework, theory, that helps ground all of the things they're learning on the job and helps them advance their own skills and abilities. And with that, because they are working full-time and they're learning, they might start at a lower pay rate, but it builds in wage progressions and rewards them for learning more and performing better on the job. It's a really wonderful model. Like I said, it's registered in New York State Department of Labor. There's a lot of partners who come together around it, including our community colleges, both partners here. And there's a lot of support around it, and we can make it work in any size environment. So we have it with companies who are more than 500 employees and machine shops where they might only have 20 people on staff. So you don't have to have a full HR department to have this. We can help run the program, and we see it increasing, opening up the pipeline. So people will come into manufacturing from jobs in retail and food service and healthcare and things we never expected to see, those cross industry pathways. And it really builds that out and helps people see how they can fit into that environment, even if they don't have the work experience prior. And it also helps with barrier removal, like JeanMarie is talking about. So people who maybe, you know, didn't see themselves going to college, didn't think that they were welcome in that type of setting, they can see now that there's a pathway forward there, and it's a great program.
And Christine talks a lot about apprenticeship, and I think we all do, right? But it's not a new concept, right? There's been apprentice models since, the Middle Ages, right? And helping a business be able to see where an apprenticeship program in whatever industry we're talking about can actually provide that career pathway for an individual, but then also for the business to help lay out, like, okay, this person is going to start here with me. Once they've received those skills and they've mastered that, then they can move on to this level, and then I can worry about backfilling in folks. So you're creating this whole system of people coming into your business, but then you're almost providing that mentoring aspect all along the way.
Yeah, and one thing WDI does is, in working with the apprenticeship program, is we have created pre-apprenticeship programs throughout the state. So you're like, well, what is that? Kind of took me a while to wrap my head around the differences between them. So we have one called Build and Beyond, and that now is in the Newburgh area, and that is going to be starting up in Schenectady. I just had a meeting about that yesterday. And the beauty of the pre-apprentice programs are that individuals in like a 4 to 6-ish, 4 to 8, it depends, week period of time, get a little bit of a taste of all the different types of labor jobs that they could, because we work very closely with the unions. So when they take these pre-apprenticeship opportunities, one thing that they can do is they'll spend a little time on electrical, they'll spend a little time on plumbing, they'll spend a little time on this and that. So it differs a little bit from the DOL apprenticeship program, because these are more trade oriented, but it gives individuals a real good broad view of all right, I think I like electrical, but I think I'm better suited to, let's just say, being a laborer or construction or whatever the case may be. And then when they are finished with those hours for that program, we like to say that there's direct entry into the labor unions, and then they start out, usually it's 4 to 5 years, and then they become a journey person, which would be the primary, goal when they're earning the highest wage. So what we seek to do is to get more women in the trades, and also people that have barriers to employment or haven't ever really, we don't really see, when you see people in the trades, usually you see white people. So we're trying to get people that are, a bit more diversity in the trades. So that's been a big initiative of WDI to work in that area.
I just want to flip the question a little bit. As an individual, why would these programs why would they look beneficial for me if I am looking for one of these pre-apprenticeship or apprenticeship programs? I see the value, a lot of value for the business owner. And what are those the values that someone who would want to seek out these programs, what value would they be looking for?
Well, so when you come in as an apprentice, you, again, many times don't have to have any experience whatsoever. Sometimes maybe a little bit is required, or maybe it's a high school degree of equivalency and being 18 years old. For many companies, that's all it is. So you don't have to have a ton of experience in the field or even that much experience working, and you come in and start working from day one. So you know that you will have a job, you will have benefits associated with that job, and that your company is going to put you on a path to learn more. So because of that, you see your wage progression laid out in front of you. You know you'll have pay increases, and you know that at the end you'll have that journey worker card that JeanMarie mentioned that is transferable in the state and nationally. And so any company could look at that and understand what that credential means.
Yeah, and it gives people, I think, a sense of, I don't know how, you guys were when you were heading off to college, but, my parents didn't go to college, so they didn't know. So my options were military, move out and get a job, or go to college. And I was like, okay, so off to college I went, but I didn't have much direction or even idea about what I was going to do. And I think when we can introduce people that also don't have maybe parents or people that guided them in any way and introduce them to these different opportunities, not only can it maybe speak to what they might enjoy, but also it can give them a sense of okay, there are things that I can do, and that will be a secure job, that I can have a family maybe eventually and sustain that family, not just get by, paycheck to paycheck, but really have a good job and have benefits and all these other things that we talked about. So it also gives a sense of pride, and I think people grow from that and then realize there's other things that I can do if they end up not liking that type of job after a while. It just is a good starting point. So I think all these programs that we offer are just really, of course, helping organizations, but in doing that, we help the individual as well.
I think for the individual, what's important to know is that there are multiple pathways to success, right? Success is very individual, right? We're not here to tell what the right pathway is. And education is not a race, right? A formal, classroom education is not a race. So if we don't know what we want to do at 17 years old, it's okay to figure that out. And your pathway could be through apprenticeship. Your pathway could be through higher education. Your pathway could be through some other on-the-job training model and whatnot. And there could be multiple on and off ramps during your lifetime. What we try to focus on with the businesses and the job seekers is that, you know, the training matches up with what the business's needs are and what those educational pathways match up with the career pathways. And that's where we can kind of help both sides, both the businesses and the job seekers on that.
What are some of the bigger challenges that you guys are facing today in workforce development? You know, it sounds like a win-win, you know, like, you know, I guess, you know, what are those uphill battles that you guys are facing right now?
From a 10,000-foot view, I will say that our greatest challenge right now in our systems, right, is education and empowerment of individuals about opportunities that are in many cases right in their backyard, right? You know, you talked about JeanMarie, like, well, it was either military, get a job, or go to college. Well, can we drill down a little bit more on that, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, how we can specifically help individuals connect with the businesses that need them is our greatest challenge. You know, I guess I'll say the destigmatization of not going directly to college out of high school, it's a big deal, right? And I'll say over the last 3 years, we've made a lot of progress.
I agree.
Around this, but we have a lot more work to do. And empowering individuals that they have the skills that the businesses need. If that industry, whether we're talking offshore wind, whether we're talking financial services, advanced manufacturing, whatever that industry is, if they're not familiar with the jobs that aren't, I guess I'll call them the flashcard jobs, then how can we as a system have an impact on the individuals that, say, live in communities where they're not sure what their opportunities are.
And also, like, you know, so they don't automatically think that they're not going to be hired because they don't have XYZ credential.
Right.
You know, when you look at a job description, oftentimes, you know, we might all know, all right, I have, you know, 6 of the 10, but yeah, I'm going to still apply, and you might still have a good chance. But I think if people don't know, you only know what you know. And so if you don't know about a specific organization, but you might have, like Brian said, the transferable skills. So educating, we do it through a lot of different ways, going and speaking to, you know, the local schools, the Capital Region BOCES. You know, we go and speak to a lot of different groups, the South End Community Collaborative, which is a group at the South End of Albany. We speak to just all different organizations and groups to let them know that these jobs are coming, they're available, and you could be part of this, and we want to help you get to be part of this.
You know, a challenge too, we're seeing, we talked about the high school population, right? And businesses for years have wanted access to students, right? How can we get them to work for us? Schools have been like, how can businesses help us? We need it. So we're kind of coming together and saying, how can we be that intermediary between the businesses and the schools? And you know, we're starting to embed some career counseling staff in school districts. You know, we're partnering with a lot of different initiatives on career exploration activities for 7th and 8th graders. Job fairs for graduating high school seniors, providing internship opportunities for high school seniors. There's some school districts in our region that have in the past opened up part of their building as a business incubator for free. But the only caveat is you need to take our students as interns while you're here in the building. So thinking differently about that, and you know, we as a workforce system, you know, we're I guess non-threatening to either the business or the school district, because we're just here to make the connection.
Yeah, we're here to help. You know, have you guys ever heard of Career Jam?
I have not, no.
Yeah, and I hadn't until I, you know, had gotten this job. But this is like a really good example of, it's a hands-on activity that now has gone to 4 schools. It's at Hudson Valley, Siena, the next to Global Foundries, the Tech Center, and then also we did Schenectady High School. And so we bring in people from all different types of organizations with hands-on activities that the public can go to, but also geared towards, high school students. So what does an electrician do? And then they have something like kind of cool and fun, or a simulator or virtual reality. And these are the things that get students very engaged and educate them in a different way too. So, everyone loves Career Jam because it's the music's pumping and it's just very invigorating.
Very interesting, fascinating. Which sort of leads me to, which I think you guys sort of answered this, and just curious to know if there's anything else. What are some other future trends that you guys are seeing at workforce development? I see your pain point is connecting those apprenticeships to the business owners, or trying to make that connection. And I see you guys have found out interesting ways to try to help that happen, or facilitate that. But what are some other future trends that you guys see?
I think one of the things we're talking about a lot is shifting away from credential-based hiring. So I think a lot of times companies are used to saying, we need somebody with a bachelor's degree to do this job, because the bachelor's degree is standing in for a lot of other skills they just assume that person will have. And so skills-based hiring is really asking us to look at the skills you need for a person to know on the job. What do you need them to know on day one? And what can you train them for? And then highlighting those skills in a job description so that a person can look at it and say, okay, I've never worked in this environment before, but I do have those customer service skills, or I do know how to use a CRM. And so really getting everybody who's having a hiring challenge to drill down on what those skills are, helping them highlight them, and then helping make that connection to individuals to help open up the pipeline and the pool.
And then really, even on the next level is, bringing in the educational providers and on having them listen to the businesses on the credential end, right? The SUNY system has been very forward thinking in terms of building out micro credentials. They're stackable, right? Credit and non-credit courses in our SUNY system that will allow folks to be able to stack different credentials that will eventually lead to a degree or not. It's okay if they don't, but the key to what they're doing is they're sitting down with the businesses and saying, what are the skills that are needed, and how can we teach that in a classroom setting, or on the job training setting, and really build them stackable. But the key to everything we're doing, honestly, is listening to the businesses. They're the end user. Let's be clear.
Yeah, and the micro-credentials are interesting because a lot of people don't know what they are. So after someone takes a course, for example, they can get a certificate that's digital and they can put it on their LinkedIn or something. So an employer can click and say, oh, wow, this person knows X, Y, and Z, Excel, da, 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 but they don't necessarily have a degree in business or computer tech and things like that,
When you say that, that's I see on LinkedIn now there are all these micro training courses, right?
Right.
Yes.
There's
Digital
there's a huge push for that now,
Sure.
right? Yeah, and I see a
Absolutely.
lot of people, announcing that they have this micro certificate now. So I see that in my feed.
As long as it's business backed.
Yeah. One other thing I was just going to mention is that the demand for the eco-friendly and green tech jobs. We work a lot with, we're starting to work with like EV and the transition to demystify, to use your word before, the buses have to convert to EV buses. And so people get scared, oh no, I'm going to lose my job. And it's like, well, no, your job is going to be there, but it's going to be a different job. You're not going to be changing the oil. You're going to be doing other things. So, we're making like a module videos to educate people especially the unions that are people that work in those industries, in order for them to recognize, don't be scared. It's just going to be like a different way of working, So looking at all those those types of jobs and educating people about them, I think is very beneficial too, and a trend that we need to really keep going with.
This is great information, and I just want to go to my next question, which is, how can a business owner get connected with you guys and start the process to start their apprenticeship program, to start the pre-apprenticeship program, or workforce development programs? How can they get involved with you guys And do you guys all work simultaneously with one business, or can they only pick like one or another?
That's the beauty of what we do, right? There's no wrong door amongst all of our partners. And we have, 3 of them here, right? But there's probably 27 to 30 different organizations we work with on a regional basis. Some have their specialties, some don't, right? So if a business owner contacts any of us within our ecosystem, they're getting the full package of all of our organizations.
Wow.
And we can kind of tailor the needs that each of the organizations have.
Yeah.
Perfect.
It's very easy, someone can email me, call me, you go to the WDI website, you see, what area you live in, you contact the regional director, it could be by email, or maybe Christine would refer someone to me, maybe Brian would, and our process would be, I would meet with the individual, usually, a phone call or something like that, and then send them an employer profile to get a little bit more information, and then we would deduce if it is a project that, we would either help them with, or maybe there's a different area or a different organization that would be a better fit. If they do come to us and they're seeking funding for training or equipment or something like that, there's an application process that they have to fill out, which is very easy because people are like, oh no, grant application. And, I assist them with that. We can bang it out in like 2 days. Or sometimes they use CEG if it's a manufacturer, and then they will fill out the application for them. So we work very cohesively together.
And I would say that's true on the individual side as well. So any company, of course, like often the first referrals I'm making if I'm meeting with a company are to these folks or other partners. But if individuals are looking for resources too about how to enter apprenticeship, how to get training, enter an on-the-job training program, I would say call any of us, and if it's not the right fit for us exactly, we will find you the right fit, whether that's through referral services, UniteU's platform, whatever that may be, we'll link you there.
We're navigators, right?
We're navigators.
For both the business and the individual.
Was there a program that you want to talk about?
Yeah, so our Workforce Development Board sponsors the 3 career centers in our region as well, and there's actually 96 career centers in New York State that are all sponsored by the different workforce boards across the state. And the career centers are very individual based, right, and helping as those navigators in that respect. But there's also dollars available for tuition assistance, on-the-job training for businesses, for wage reimbursement, tax credits, all of that kind of piece. And I think one of the big things that we want to ensure, we're a publicly funded, in many cases, workforce development system. The federal government invests in this, the state government invests in us and whatnot. We're often advocating that investing in skills, investing in workforce is what's going to make our country and our state better. And we've seen some great investments over the years, and the businesses are able to tap into that as well as the job seekers. So I think acting as that catalyst, I think in the region, as a workforce board, acting as that convener of folks together, allows us to then tell the story a little bit better about our region. I'd like to say that we probably have the strongest region, I think, in the state in terms of the partnerships that we have. And it allows us to kind of put egos aside. Remember the work we're doing is for the businesses and the job seekers, and we can all take credit in the success in all that, which allows us to then write big national grants that we have blueprints for that are going to be impactful for the region.
This is great information. I just want to thank you all for your service here for workforce development. You guys do a lot for the individual. You do a lot for the business owner. You help individuals get connected to career pathways. You help business owners get individuals that are trained to help their career pathway with their business, which helps employee morale, which helps company culture, right? And helps build a trained workforce. So there's a lot of stuff that you guys are doing here for businesses and ultimately maybe saving some money on the bottom line for the business owner with the programs, right?
Absolutely.
So sounds like a lot of good things that can help all the business owners that are watching us today. So I encourage you guys to reach out. I want to thank you guys so much for the time you took today to answer all these questions. And just wanted to thank you, and I think that's all.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
So happy to be here.